Parak 3, Mishnah 19. It will be on page 562 in the Art Scroll Siddur. Hakol tzafui. Everything is known in advance. It's all foreseen. Charashus nusuna. But freedom is given. Free will is given. Right? That is every science fiction writer's nightmare. Boom. There you go. That's the science fiction paradox. All right? There's not a decent science fiction writer ever who hasn't written at least a couple of stories on this question. Everything is foreseen, but freedom is given. Uvtuv ha'olam nadon. The world is judged, but is judged with goodness. Nothing is random. Nothing gets by the boss. Everything is going to be evaluated. Everything's going to be judged, but it's all judged with goodness. Right? There's no angry God. There's no God of capriciousness. There's no God in the meat of anger, spiteful punishment. Every single thing that happens is judged and is thought out and is appropriate and it's good. It's hard to hear when things are tough. It's really hard to hear when things are tough. But it's extremely invigorating. Right? Okay, it's cancer. It's good. Working on figuring out how. Getting closer, but it's good. All right? So the economy is stinky, but it still comes from a judgment of goodness. We'll see it in a second. Hakol lefi rov hamaisa. And everything depends on the majority of the deeds. Ultimately, how you're going to come out, how the world's going to work for you, God's going to see, are you generally a good guy? Are you generally a bad guy? Are you generally a positive in the world, or are you generally a negative in the world? So the first four words, it's a paradox. It's difficult to understand how it can be. But he states it just as a statement of this is the way the universe is. Right? God is outside of time. He's independent of time. That there's nothing that's random. There's nothing that happens in a meaningless way. And yet, your will is never thwarted. Now, it's freedom of choice, not freedom of execution. You're free to choose anything that you want. That doesn't mean you have the ability to get it done. Right? That there are places that you will make a choice, and God will choose to thwart what you want to do. Because that's not the right choice for you, or it's not what's supposed to happen in the world. But it's not constrained. The ultimate question is, I took a seminar when I first went to college called, Free Will and Determinism. Right, and that's the only class you took that quarter. It was, 16 units, and you went the whole week, all week. You took no other classes. You met 4 days a week. It's a huge seminar in the honors program on this question of free will versus determinism. Are we free, or are we determined? And ultimately, it comes down to this question of, you get down to that thought brain cell impulse. And if that brain impulse is compelled to make a decision, even if it's compelled to make a decision based on all of the information it's gathered, then in theory it's determined. But if it's not compelled in any way to make the decision, then maybe it was just random. So which is it? Is life determined, and you're basically just a robot and a rat in a cage? Or are you random, where when it gets right down to the very bottom level, a random number generator pops up and you act randomly one way or the other? Or are you free? So we believe you're free. We believe that ultimately God will confront you. He'll limit you. He'll constrain you. But he'll put you, when you get to that final push comes to shove question, do I choose to be a body or a soul? Do I choose to be good or evil? Do I choose to do what's right or wrong? That you as a soul have the ability to make the final choice based on who you are and what you are. And it's not compelled to you. So they ask the question, all right, so what about Paro? says Paro lost his free will, right? Paro, God hardened his heart, right? It doesn't seem particularly fair to punish Paro for the decisions he made. God hardened his heart. So the idea is that if you did good, every time you did good, God gave you chocolate. Really good chocolate. Maybe even really good caramel, if that's what you prefer. But every time you did bad, God hits you with a small lightning bolt. Right? Electric shock. If you do bad, you get hit with a shock. You do good, you get chocolate. So after a couple of days, other than the guys who are absolute rebels, would you do evil ever? No one wants to do evil. No one will do evil because you get great feedback and you know good gets rewarded with chocolate and evil gets rewarded with lightning. And you will do good because you love chocolate and hate lightning. But it will have nothing to do with a moral choice. Nothing. So here's the thing. God has no interest, zero, in you doing the right thing. God has no interest in people doing good. He has no interest in honesty or integrity or morality. Nothing. God has interest in you choosing to do good. It's the choosing that matters. See, if God wanted to maximize the doing of good, then what he should do is create robots that are programmed to do good and who can only do good. And then he will get the maximum amount of good done. Right? I want my brakes, I don't care whether my brakes choose to stop me or not. I want them to stop me. And therefore, I build no choice, no indecision, no randomness into the system. I push down, the car stops. Because I have no interest in the moral integrity of my braking system. I want it to stop me. If God wanted good done in the world, then God would have created automatons, robots, pre-programmed to do good. God has no interest in us doing good. God is interested in us choosing to do good. Right? It's the choice. It's the confronted with the opportunity to do good or evil and seeing that there's a benefit to doing evil. If I do evil, I get your wallet. Hit you on the head, I get your wallet. There's a cost to doing good. If I give my money to charity, I don't have it to buy good single malt scotches or rare bottles of bourbon. I've given my money away to other poor people who should have gotten a job. Right? There's a cost to doing good. There's a benefit to doing evil. So now you have the opportunity to weigh the cost against the benefit and to decide who you are. We are ultimately not creatures of action. We are ultimately creatures of will. The action follows from the will. But ultimately what matters is the will, is the choice, is choosing to do good. God knows how it's going to work out. He has enough flexibility, there's enough randomness, there's enough, sway in the universe that you can make your choices and God will respond to those choices and shape the world the way it needs to be. Right? Just because you choose to pull the trigger doesn't mean the gun's going to go off. Doesn't mean that it's going to hit him. Doesn't mean that he's going to die from it. Doesn't mean, right? It says man proposes, God disposes. It's not up to you to finish the task, but you're not free to refrain from it. Your job as a creature, as a human being, is to choose to do good. Full freedom is given. God will constrain many things in your life, but he will never, when you get to that boundary point, right, that choice point, right, between doing good and evil, God will always leave your soul free. And it's up to you. You can't say the devil made you do it. In our model, the devil does not make you do anything. It's up to you whether you do it or not. And then he says, the world is going to be judged. All your choices will matter. Nothing, you get no slack. Nothing gets away for free. Right? Everything will be judged. But it's always going to be judged at the side of good. God is kind and loving and fair. Right? And in the end, it's really just going to be doing better than average. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He expects you to have a better than 500 winning percentage. And if you get over 500%, he'll cut you some slack on the places you blew it. But you got to be mostly a good guy. That's the minimum standard. So that's our Mishnah.